There are truths no one dares to tell you, not because they do not exist, but because they are too uncomfortable to accept. This is one of them. Female desire does not obey logic. It does not follow morality, and often it does not match what is spoken aloud. It follows older codes, darker ones, deeper ones, and if you do not understand them, you will continue to repeat the same mistake, giving everything, receiving nothing. But there is a map, a guide, 5 unwritten rules that govern female desire, 5 keys that if you understand and apply them, will return the clarity you lost. The moment you trusted what she said, instead of what she revealed through silence, through instinct, through reaction. These rules were not invented on the internet. They were not taught in schools. They were discovered by men who were brave enough to look into the places no one else would. One of them was Sigmund Freud. Yes, Freud, the father of psychoanalysis. The man who in his clinical work with emotionally distressed women realized their symptoms were not illness. They were unspoken expressions of suppressed desire, desire that society rejected, but that still lived beneath the mask of civilization. Freud's private writings reveal something difficult to accept. People often do not want what they say they want. They are drawn to what disturbs them, what pulls them away from control, what makes them feel deeply alive. In the next few minutes, I will show you 3 of these 5 rules. But I must warn you, rule number 4 is so powerful that without it, everything else falls apart. So stay until the end. And if something in you is ready to break the pattern, write the word leadership in the comments, because only those who lead themselves can lead through the mystery of desire. Let us begin. Rule number 1. No does not always mean no. I understand it sounds dangerous. It sounds incorrect. It even sounds offensive. But that is because you are trapped in the public narrative, not in private reality. There is a case that changed the way Freud understood desire. The case of Dora, an 18-year-old girl who accused an older man of inappropriate behavior. Freud studied her and reached a conclusion that still makes people deeply uncomfortable. What disturbed her was not the advance itself. What disturbed her was that the man stopped, that he held back, that he left her suspended at the height of tension without resolving what her body was silently expressing. This gave birth to a devastating realization, the eroticization of rejection. Freud discovered that many women do not fantasize about perfect agreement or emotional symmetry or peaceful equality. They fantasize about intensity, about danger, about surrender, not because they want to be harmed, but because they want to let go. And in the female psyche, letting go does not happen in safety. It happens on the edge of uncertainty. In other words, no is not always a wall. Sometimes it is an invitation to attention, to tension, to the dance of desire. Yes, we live in a time where we are taught that no must mean no, where every signal must be clear, verbal, and explicit. But Freud discovered something deeper. The female body often responds to a different logic. A logic where ambiguity is more arousing than clarity, where mystery creates more desire than explanation, where friction is not the enemy, it is the fuel. This is not about crossing boundaries. It is about understanding that for many women, emotion lives in tension, not in resolution. Desire does not bloom in peace. It blooms in psychological war. And if you as a man neutralize yourself just to avoid discomfort, what you destroy is not only your masculine essence, you destroy her desire for you. Rule number 2, desire is not justice, it is intensity. Perhaps you are a good man, kind, attentive, emotionally available, respectful. You listen, you validate, you never pressure, you never impose, you never create discomfort. And that is exactly why you are alone, or caught in the friend zone, or in a relationship where she expresses gratitude but not desire. Why does that happen? Because female desire is not built on fairness, nobility, or correctness. It is built on what makes her pulse race, what makes her body alert, what makes her tremble. Female desire, whether you admit it or not, resonates with the wild, not the civilized, with the unpredictable, not the scheduled, with disruption, not with comfort. Freud called it the paradox of pleasure, The more peaceful the bond becomes, the more desire fades, because the female body does not crave stability, it craves intensity. And when you give her everything she says she wants, respect, affection, availability, gentleness, validation, you are giving her peace but not desire. This is why many women end relationships by saying, "You are perfect, but I do not feel anything," because you were perfect for her mind, but invisible to her body, because you adapted so completely to her requests that you erased everything that used to provoke a reaction, because you tried to be fair in a dynamic that is not moved by fairness, but by magnetism. And do you know what is most difficult? Even she does not fully understand it, because female desire is largely unconscious. It appears in impulses, not in explanations. She may genuinely love a kind man, but she fantasizes about one who carries danger. She may admire your tenderness, but her body responds to your mystery. And if you do not know how to embody both parts, the visible and the shadow, the light and the dark, you become a figure of morality, but not of attraction. Rule number 3. She does not want what she says. She wants what disarms her. Have you ever asked yourself a question? Why do so many women devour romantic novels filled with mafiosos, criminals, and merciless gods? Why do they pay for exclusive content from men who appear dominant, cold, and emotionally unavailable? Why, even in politics, are many more drawn to the authoritarian leader than to the kind and respectful candidate? There is a reason, a truth, that society works hard to suppress, but Freud understood it from the beginning. What a woman says she wants is not always what her body responds to. There is a brutal dissonance between public language and biological reality, between what is politically accepted and what is instinctively activated. Decades later, Alfred Kinsey, the father of modern sexology, conducted studies that confirm this. Many women responded more strongly to imagined scenarios of dominant seduction than to calm and consensual ones. Why? Because biology did not match morality, and that truth frightened him, so he hid it. He knew the world was not ready to admit that the female body follows laws. The rational mind cannot govern, and yet you see it every day in the woman who says she wants a sensitive man but becomes obsessed with the one who remains distant, in the girl who talks about equality but dreams of being taken over, in the friend who keeps choosing men who dismiss her and pushes away the ones who respect her. It is not madness, it is desire. And you. If you keep listening to her words instead of observing her patterns, you will break. You will give her exactly what she asked for, and she will still walk away, not because you are not good, but because you failed to decode what culture is designed to conceal. Women are drawn to the man they cannot fully control, not because they lack intelligence, but because desire is not a product of intellect. It is the language of the unconscious. It is not explained. It is felt. Rule number 4. Scarcity creates desire. Constant presence destroys it. Here is where the most important rule enters, the one that shifts everything, the one that reveals why being good without mystery becomes a death sentence for attraction. Because if you have understood the first 3 rules, then you have already seen what most refuse to acknowledge. But if you ignore the 4th, you risk losing everything. Rule number 4. Scarcity creates desire. Constant presence destroys it. This is the rule that good men almost never learn, and that is why they are often overlooked. They believe that the more present they are, the more affection they generate, the more available they become, the more security they offer. The more they give themselves, the more they will be valued. But that only works within the logic of affection. Desire follows a different logic. Desire does not respect what is always available. Desire is not activated by certainty. It is sparked through absence, through questions, through space. When a woman knows exactly what you are thinking, where you are, what you will do, how you will react, when there is no room for uncertainty, her mind disengages because surprise disappears. And without surprise, there is no tension. Without tension, there is no polarity. And without polarity, everything dies. This is why Freud spoke of the principle of scarcity, not in financial terms, in emotional ones. He observed that modern men have become so emotionally available, so accommodating, so excessively expressive, that they have lost their edge. They have stopped being exciting. Desire is not born from excess words. It is born from silence, from absence, from unresolved mystery. Most men want to explain everything. They justify. They clarify. They try to prove that they are trustworthy, transparent, and good. And that constant need for validation, that impulse to narrate intentions, only leads to one outcome. It extinguishes desire. A woman desires what she cannot completely decode, what makes her imagine, what makes her uncertain, what leaves her suspended in curiosity. You believe that giving her peace is the solution, but you do not understand that a deeper part of her craves emotional adrenaline, not chaos, not violence, but intensity. She needs her mind to participate, to wonder, to complete the gaps, to assume, to wait, to feel that you are not entirely hers, to feel that you could walk away at any time. Only then does her most primal instinct awaken to try and keep you. When you are always present, always accessible, always predictable, she does not feel your presence as a challenge. She feels it as a guarantee, a man who will be there no matter what. And that does not build attraction. It builds routine. It builds fatigue. It creates emotional closure. This is why rule number 4 is simple but devastating. Your attention must be a privilege, not a right. If she does not earn it, she will not value it. If you do not create space for her to miss you, she will not seek you. If she never experiences your absence, she will never fully appreciate your presence. You are so focused on not losing her that you have forgotten how to be desired. This is not about manipulation. It is about protecting your value. It is about understanding a core truth. Female desire does not follow male logic. You desire what you can have. She desires what she is afraid to lose. And if you do not embody the possibility of loss, if you do not represent some level of risk, you will not activate desire. You will only represent stability. And no one dreams of stability. They dream of something that can transform everything. Emotional silence, calculated absence, strategic pause. These are not games. They are signals. They are psychological tools that awaken her imagination, and by doing so, awaken her desire. If you give her certainty, you give her peace. But if you want fire, you must allow shadow. Rule number 5. A woman desires to follow a man who leads himself. You may have understood all the previous rules. You may have even seen the truth behind her words. You may have learned how desire operates through tension, scarcity, and psychological polarity. But if you do not master this final rule, you will fall again. Not because you are weak, but because your transformation is incomplete. This last rule is not about seduction. It is about identity. It is not about tactics. It is about presence. Because at the core of every female instinct is not the craving for comfort, it is the craving for direction. And direction can only come from a man who leads himself. What does that mean? It means that when you are in front of a woman, she feels your trajectory. She senses whether your life has structure. She detects whether your steps are guided by clarity or confusion. It is not the words you say that decide attraction. It is the energy beneath those words, the calm fire behind your gaze, the steadiness in your decisions. A woman does not truly desire a man who adapts to her every whim. She does not want a man who makes her the center of his life. She does not desire a mirror that reflects her emotions back to her. She desires a man who stands still when she sways, who speaks less and signals more, who does not alter his path just to be accepted, who walks forward whether she joins him or not, because when you hesitate, she leads, and when she leads, she disconnects, not out of entitlement, not out of modern values, but out of ancient instinct. Female desire is not a puzzle. It is not chaotic. It is selective, intentional, and ancient. It is wired to respond to the man who can lead emotionally and spiritually. And leadership in this context does not mean domination. It does not mean barking orders or controlling someone else's life. It means knowing where you are going and not stopping to ask for directions, It is the ability to hold your vision even when the world wants you to abandon it. It is the silence that follows your presence into a room. It is the firm calm in your decisions, even when emotions swirl around you. That kind of man makes her nervous in the best way because he is unshakable, because he forces her to choose whether she will rise to meet him. You can be loving, you can be kind, you can be attentive, but if you do not lead, you do not awaken her instincts. Because female desire needs structure, it needs guidance, it needs a force to respond to. This is why men who constantly ask, "What do you want to do? Is this okay with you? Should we go left or right?" lose their spark. Their energy becomes reactive, not generative. They are led by her feelings instead of leading her emotions. And when she feels that, she begins to drift because she no longer feels contained, no longer feels safe, no longer feels polarized. If you cannot lead her, you cannot protect her. If you cannot hold her storm, you cannot ignite her desire. If you do not know your direction, she will not follow your path. And here is the most brutal truth. You cannot fake leadership. You cannot read a script and pretend to be grounded. Your nervous system reveals who you truly are. You either carry the masculine current or you do not. And the only way to carry it is this: stop needing her approval. Stop placing her above your mission. Stop building your identity around how she reacts. Instead, build yourself. Make your mission sacred. Make your purpose non-negotiable. Make your path more important than her mood. When you do that, something shifts. Your gaze becomes still. Your words become fewer, but heavier. Your vibe changes, and she feels it. Not in her mind, in her body. Because desire does not respond to logic. It responds to the field, to the polarity between the masculine and the feminine, to the energy that cannot be explained, only felt. True leadership is not loud, it is not boastful, it does not need validation. It is the silent conviction in your bones. It is the refusal to break your frame, even when tempted. It is the decision to keep walking, even if she turns away. And when she sees that, when she senses that you are not a leaf in the wind but a mountain in motion, that is when her desire bows not to your dominance, but to your direction. She stops testing you, she stops leading you, she stops controlling you because she finally feels it. You are already leading yourself, and that is the only man she truly wants to follow. This is what Freud never dared to publish, not because it was false, but because he knew the world would not be ready. He knew these truths would unravel illusions, break narratives, and challenge everything we were told to believe. But we are not here to comfort, we are here to awaken. And if you have made it this far, if something within you stirred, if a voice inside you rose, if something cracked open and said, "I remember who I am," then write the word leadership in the comments, because that is the mark of a man who no longer waits to be chosen but chooses himself, who leads not just others but his own mind, his own path, his own energy. Subscribe, activate the bell, and stay close, because on this channel we do not offer comfort, we offer